Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to Him belong. They are weak, but He is strong.
Well, good morning, children. I'd like you to meet my four-legged friend, Angie. Angie the doggy. Angie likes to come to chapel because Angie likes children. Well, let's have our morning prayer. I don't know if you can see her folded paws, but you fold your hands and close your eyes. God, we know you love little children and you love doggies and kitties, and inspire us to love doggies and kitties, mommies and daddies and brothers and sisters and teachers and other children in our school. Amen. Well, we're going to enjoy a Bible story. Get your listening ears on. We're going to listen to a Bible story. This story is about Abraham and Sarah. It is also about God who makes promises, and then a long time intervenes, and we test our faith. Are we going to trust God to keep those promises or not? Abraham and Sarah had a hard time trusting God. So here's how the story goes. God came to Abraham and said, "Take a look at the night sky. Look at all those stars up there. My promise to you is that you and Sarah will bear children, and they will have grandchildren, and they will number like the stars in the sky. You won't even be able to count them all." Well, okay, Abraham and Sarah looked forward to this happening, but they grew old, and Sarah didn't have any babies and couldn't have any more babies, and so how could they help out God? Sarah brought to Abraham her maid, a young woman named Hagar, who was at the right age for bearing children, and she said, "Abraham, I've got a proposal. You and Hagar make the babies, and this way we'll be able to fulfill God's promise for God, okay?" Well, Abraham said okay, and he and Hagar together made a baby, and that baby's name was Ishmael. So now we've got a family, Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and the baby Ishmael. Do you think things went well? No, they didn't. Sarah got jealous of Hagar and Hagar's baby. And she got spiteful and she got nasty. And she said, "Abraham, I want you to expel Hagar and little Ishmael. Kick him out of the house." So, sadly, reluctantly, Abraham told Hagar and Ishmael they had to leave. And they left. Where would they go? What would they do? They didn't have a home anymore. How would you feel if you had to leave your home and not know where to go? And so Hagar and Ishmael went out into the wilderness, and they were lonesome and they were sad, and Hagar did not know how she could make a living in the wilderness to support herself and her son, and they were so lonesome and so sad. Well, an angel flew in. Can you see the angel flying in from a great distance? And the angel said, "Oh, Hagar, I am so sorry that this happened to you. This is just awful. You were only being a good person and helping out Abraham and Sarah. I want you to go back. And I promise you that Abraham and Sarah will take you back in. They'll take care of you. And everything's going to be okay. And you, let me tell you, God is going to bless Ishmael, and he is going to have a large family of descendants, and they'll be separate, of course, from those from Abraham and Sarah, but you will be blessed too. And so, this good news meant that Rachel and Ishmael went back to the home of Abraham, and Sarah said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Come back into the home, and we're going to be like sisters, and we're going to be close, and we're going to make sure that Ishmael grows up in a good home." All right. Now what happens? Well, years pass by, and Abraham is now 100, and Sarah is 99, and one day, three strange men approach. They're actually angels, but Abraham thought they were just men. And Abraham said, "Come on, let me give you some hospitality. I'm going to cook lunch for you." And while they were talking, Sarah decided to eavesdrop and listen to what they were saying. And the angels told Abraham, "You are going to conceive a son, and his name's going to be Isaac." And Sarah started to laugh. "How could I? I'm a century old. I'm way too old to have children." So here's what's going on. God had promised that they would have children that would number like the stars, and Sarah was thinking, but this is impossible. Old mothers, old grandmothers, old great-grandmothers, they don't have children anymore. But the promise came true. And Sarah bore a child, and his name was Isaac. And now Abraham had two wives, Sarah and Hagar, and he had two sons, Ishmael and Jacob. And those sons, they got married, and they had children, and eventually those children created descendants so many that you can't even count them today. Take a look at this icon. Can you see Abraham and Sarah in the back? And then there are the three angels. And those angels look like men, but they are in fact messengers of God. Well, when God makes a promise to you and me, and God has made lots of promises to you and me through Jesus Christ, that our sins will be forgiven, that we'll be raised from the dead on the last day, and sometimes in your and my life, oh my goodness, we think God is absent, God has forgotten God's promises, but those are moments when we should have faith, when we should have trust that God is going to fulfill those promises just as God did for Abraham and Sarah. Now, wasn't that an exciting Bible story? I like coming to chapel with the school children. I'm going to say goodbye now. Bye-bye.